Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Real Time. I'm one of your hosts, Rob McGregor, joined with
Ryan McMahon.
Hi Ryan, how's it going?
Pretty good, yourself?
It's been a pretty busy week. I just want to say first, thanks to everyone who's given us feedback on the first episode of the podcast. It's been really, really amazing to hear some people have managed to enjoy it and thought that it was worth us continuing, which is really nice. We're going to keep trying to do these every kind of like 2 to 3 weeks, as and if we can. Basically, it just depends on when we're both free, really. That's what it comes down to in our random shift work. I also want to say a big thanks to my friend Martin Ramy, who has provided us with some new graphics so that I don't have to look at this old logo that he made in 2006, which he really wasn't a fan of. But he just loved the idea so much originally, and he was so passionate that he's created a whole bunch of new graphics and logos for us, which is really awesome. So a huge shout out to him. He works as a graphic designer in Austria, and I've linked his page in the descriptions for all our videos, and he's put a little watermark on it all, which is totally understandable considering it's probably like hundreds if not thousands of euros worth of work for free. So I really do appreciate it. As we're saying, this week has been ridiculous for the amount of news and trailers and everything, and obviously there's huge news at the start of the week, so I guess we should probably start with that.
No, it's been insane. Like, there's been news out of nowhere for new movies. I mean, like the new Ghostbusters coming out in 2020.
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty surprised, although we shouldn't be, because apparently Dan Aykroyd said this last year, but of course Dan Aykroyd says this about 2 or 3 times every year, so we probably shouldn't be that surprised.
No, I think Dan Aykroyd's just always had that hankering for, like, yes, there's always going to be one to make fans happy of it. But now Jason Reitman's just come out and just over 3 days? I think news has come out over each day. There's
news, and then there was a teaser trailer, and then there was like more news. Well, I guess that wasn't specifically him, but it was like cast members saying, you know, they're probably going to all come back. So we'll see how it goes. The trailer itself, the teaser was quite more surprising. I think I was like expecting them all of a sudden, oh yes, we're going to make this movie, and then all of a sudden there's a teaser trailer within a day. And I'm really surprised at that. Yeah, so having that teaser is just, I mean, it's very simple. The original score from the first film and the shot of the Ecto-1. If you look, there's slime outside. Like, it's a telling trailer, but it tells absolutely nothing as well at the same time.
Well, I saw a breakdown video like later that day of like all the things that you may have missed, and one was like there's like slime on the gate. There's the music that's playing in the background is from the original Ghostbusters when they're in the library at the start of that, when they're researching that, and then of course the Ecto-1 underneath, which I think people look at it and go, oh, it's the Ecto-1 from the first movie.
Yes.
As well, as opposed to the Ecto-1A from the second film as well, yeah.
But it's got the Ghostbusters 2 logo on it, so which I always just assumed was the same car redone. So I don't know. Are they trying to say now?
Yeah, there was different plates on it apparently as well.
Yeah.
So we don't know. We'll find out.
Because the first one, like they have the car at the start of the second movie because they're driving around when they're doing the
birthday parties.
It's almost like I just thought they just upgraded the same car. I thought that was always the intent. But anyway, and obviously the lights themselves as well are obviously not just ghosts. They're like part of the proton streams from that. So that's interesting.
So someone's working on one or trying to become a Ghostbuster themselves, perhaps.
Maybe it's like mostly it's a ghostly Egon.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
They're going to put the death of Harold Ramis into the actual film itself. Jason Reitman's an interesting, not choice, because it was him that came forward with the idea to his dad and to Sony, but he said for years that he wasn't going to do he had never thought about doing a Ghostbusters movie. Everyone always asked him, and no one was ever going to let him do it. He thought it was a silly idea. Everyone kept asking him, your dad did Ghostbusters, do you think you'd follow it up and do a sequel? But he said no, and it's kind of interesting. He obviously just came up with this idea and decided that was the thing. And obviously, from what Dan Aykroyd said last year, he thinks it's on the right track. So obviously, everyone's on board. It can't be any worse than the Ghostbusters reboot, which, I mean, to be all completely fair, obviously caused a lot of controversy online. Personally, I didn't find that funny of a movie. It was okay, I guess.
Yeah. See, here's the thing for me, like. The actresses themselves were fine. Like, I got no problems with them. They're all funny in their own rights. But I just think the story and the overall tone of the movie was just not that good, and it didn't scream Ghostbusters to me. I think we've agreed on this multiple times. Like, the funniest part was Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, as I said to you as well, I think the funniest parts were Chris Hemsworth and then Kate McKinnon in that order, which is not a good sign to me as how funny the movie is, because there was nothing wrong with the idea of a reboot. I had no problems. I have no problems with the idea of a sequel as well now. Some people did. There was, I talked to people and they were just like, "Why? What was the point? There's no point in making this. Why not make another movie?" My issue inherent with that is that when they did make this version of the movie with the women, they were essentially trying to cast 4 females to be the equivalent of the 4 males, and I just like, what, that seemed like the bigger problem. Like, you were just basically creating character types that were the crazy scientist, the slightly weird. I mean, I guess there's no real Bill Murray type, really. Like, no. Melissa McCarthy's character and Kristen Wiig's character are kind of like have traits. They're
both the same.
They're traits of both
Bill Murray and
Dan Aykroyd's characters. But obviously Leslie Jones is supposed to be
the Winston character. The Winston, which is comes and helps out later in the movie.
Yeah, and which it's a little bit earlier in the movie for her. But like, it's just like, why did you need to do that? Why not just make 4 original characters that just happen to become Ghostbusters? You can keep the level in paranormal, obviously that's important, but. So the rumors are as well, obviously, that the script for this reboot was going to have 4 young people as well. That'll be interesting. Obviously, there's an idea, but obviously that the original trio, at least that are still alive, will be involved at some capacity is probably obviously what they're hoping for. And obviously having Reitman and his father as well still involved as a producer are supposed to hopefully convince the others to come along. Ernie Hudson said he's waiting for confirmation from Sony, but he said he's happy to be there. Obviously, Dan Aykroyd's not going to say no. He's the one that's been hyping it up. So realistically, it just leaves Bill Murray as the holdout.
I think if the story's good, he probably will come along for it. I
mean, the funny part is too that I know they're shooting Zombieland 2, and the reports are that both Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray have a cameo in that. Sorry for anyone who didn't want that spoiled. I've just ruined that for you. But that was the reporting, and so I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see, I guess.
One thing I'd like to see out of the new Ghostbusters too is that, depending on what way they want to go, whether it's a whole new younger Ghostbusters from the get-go, or they potentially have the original 3 at the start, and then they're like, we're getting too old for this, we need to pass it on to the younger characters, in which case, yeah, that's fine, I got no problems with that. And then it may turn out that the issue's too difficult for the younger guys, so then the older guys have to come back and help them. It's a typical sort of storyline for movies that pass the torch, but that sort of movie, if they want to reboot it and carry it on, I've got no problems with that.
There's this been thing in Hollywood in the last kind of 10 years, which some people refer to as legacy sequels. They're legacy films that are also sequels, and it feels like this is probably where Ghostbusters probably should have gone in the first place before they even tried the reboot, which was to have that passing of the torch. This is essentially the idea, where you have established characters from that franchise and you create new characters. Obviously, the new Star Wars films are a perfect example of that. It's interesting to see this approach is slightly different, I guess, in that they tried a reboot or different take on the franchise and it didn't work. Obviously, Sony has had a lot of plans about what they wanted to do with the franchise, and it's kind of, I don't know where this will go. This is interesting. Is it a one and done deal? Like, Ghostbusters 2 is not remembered fondly that well, I think, by a lot of people.
For the best movie.
I jokingly said to someone the other day that I thought, in retrospect, it makes the way that Ghostbusters have kind of been handled now, it makes Ghostbusters 2 look like really good.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things that I don't know if is ever going to hold up to anyone's expectations.
I think that's the big question. I mean, one thing that I reckon would sort of tie the whole thing together too is that, as I touched on earlier with the original Ghostbusters in it, maybe with the relationship between Bill Murray's Venkman and Sigourney Weaver's Dana, her baby has now grown up, sort of idolizing Venkman, and he could be one of the new Ghostbusters.
That's a really good twist. That could be a good connective tissue. I don't want to say twist. Twist is probably the wrong term, but a really good way of connecting those two things together. That's very true. Very, very true. I didn't actually even think about that. That's a good little inroads that one of them is connected, and that would also be a good reason to bring Sigourney Weaver's character back. quite easily as well. Obviously, Rick Moranis would probably be the real holdout because he didn't go in for the cameo, and I think it would have to be something pretty important for him to agree to turning up again.
Yeah, because he was the only one
from the
2016,
that didn't turn up for some sort of replacement cameo appearance as another character. And obviously he hasn't retired. He says he hasn't retired, but he just doesn't really do much. He does a bit of voice work and he sings and
he does stuff here and there.
He does stuff here and there, but he doesn't act really anymore. But I remember him talking in an interview a couple of years ago that he just hadn't had anything important that seemed worthwhile. So one would hope that maybe this might be that opportunity, that this seems like the perfect time to actually turn up. But he may still decide that it's not. It's just he reads the script or they show him what he's going to be doing and he's like, nah, it's not worth my time. I don't think we can continue talking about Ghostbusters for the entirety of this thing because I think we possibly could easily do that, couldn't we?
Yes, easily. But I don't think our listeners do want to hear that. I think if you appreciate Ghostbusters, you appreciate Ghostbusters, and if you're not a Ghostbusters fan, then you've probably been like scratching your for the last probably several minutes, going, "This guys can move on now." What I did want to also talk about as far as other sequel announcements this week was not just one, but 2 Mission Impossible sequels by Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, obviously both announcing that they're coming back, and they're going to film them together to release back to back, year to year, 2021, 2022. Yeah, 21, 22.
Is this a Mission Impossible for Mission Impossible? Like, I know that sounds really funny. It's like I just think that. I don't know if anyone knows the history of the last 2 films, but basically they spent so much effort trying to make them actually happen because the scripts were being written while they were filming them and rewritten. The last one, I mean, Henry Cavill came out saying he didn't even know where his character was going to end up. Like, what he'd been told at the start by where the character ended up at the end was completely different, and he was completely fine with it. It was just an evolving process, and obviously after Tom Cruise broke his foot in that stunt, then they kind of had more time to work on it. It obviously worked to their benefit because the last 2 movies were so successful. So is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, can they actually achieve 2 films? What do you think, Ryan?
I think you've pretty much nailed it bang on the head. Like, is it Mission Impossible for Mission Impossible? or as some people like to call it, How to Kill Tom Cruise. Again. Like, it's just going to be insane because, I mean, the last one definitely had elements of earlier movies as well, especially like the trailer where it showed the helicopter going into the truck, which wasn't in the movie at all.
Yeah.
Which completely threw me off when I went and saw it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with all the reshoots that they will potentially end up doing as well, or the story changing, it's just impossible to know where it's going to go.
This is the interesting thing too. Are they going to shoot one and the other back to back, and they'll probably release the one when they're just on the back end of shooting, maybe, I don't know, and then have to re-edit and reshoot a whole bunch of stuff for the second film, or recraft a story and go basically shoot an entire another film again because of that. I mean, I'm not meaning to put like difference of understanding that they're probably going to screw the film up, but if this is how the last 2 went, it seems pretty obvious that they might go down that same path again, where they kind of start with a 30 or 40 page understanding of where they're going, and then the movie develops, because that's obviously worked for the last 2. Why would you change that?
It's just hard to say. I mean, they might have an idea for the second movie that they want to film back to back, but then when they finish the first one, they might go, oh wait, it completely changed. Yeah. So we've got to make a whole new script, and it may get pushed back. We don't know. My
other thoughts are the reason why perhaps sometimes this happens with these scripts is simply because they have these ideas of what they want to do as those main stunts for Tom Cruise, and they have to work a story around them. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. It's like, oh, yeah, Tom's going to hang out on the side of a plane. How do we make that move into the plot? Oh, Tom's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to jump from a roof. He's going to ride a bike and crash it. Like, what? Yeah, have they come up with the stunt ideas they want for these next 2 movies first, and then decided they'll write a story around those stunts? Like, and they have a vague idea of where the plot might go, but not really, and they work out the details. I mean, they've already said they're thinking about bringing back Henry Cavill and Alec Baldwin for flashbacks for some reason. I'm like, hang on, wait, what? There was some discussion about this the other day online. I'm confused. I'm really, really confused about this.
Yeah, I can't say I'd seen anything about Alec Baldwin, but I had read something about Henry Cavill definitely coming back. Yeah. Saying that he's open to coming back to it too.
And this is, I'm sorry for people who may not have seen the last Mission Impossible. There's a spoiler warning for what we're about to talk about, but these 2 characters obviously died in the last film, so bringing them back is kind of a big deal. It kind of means that there's maybe the intrigue of the plot is going to work out from behind the scenes in the last film. There was more to what was going on that's going to be revealed in these other films that will necessitate kind of having them back. Maybe they realised they kind of shouldn't have killed off Henry Cavill's bad guy so easily.
No, and if on the subject of bringing people back, I'd like to see them bring back Jeremy Renner's character, who was at the time was potentially going to take over from Tom Cruise if he ever stepped away. But
yeah,
I think that ship has sailed.
I think he was. I mean, he was busy with the Avengers, and I think he probably would come back as soon as he can. So maybe for these films, they'll definitely make an integral character. And if they have these flashbacks, maybe explain where his character was during the last events of the last film.
Part of them, yeah.
Yeah, and that he was in the background the whole time, which would be an interesting way of doing it. I guess we'll move on to the other big trailer reveal for the week, which was John Wick 3, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, which, honestly, the franchise I never expected to be a franchise.
No. I mean, the first one was such a big hit that I think the second one almost surprised everybody.
Well, yeah, I guess if you're a massive success, you kind of expect that they're going to go, right, we'll turn around and make sequels, for sure, but... yeah, not where I expected a franchise to head. And now they're making a television spin-off series around the Continental Hotel, and they've made some statement about making as many of these John Wick films as long as there's an audience for it. And Keanu Reeves is set for life.
I think he definitely is. I mean, it's just taken off. I mean, he had definite gun training during The Matrix as well, but there's like behind-the-scenes footage as well of these of just more intense.
He memorizes. Yeah. He memorized kung fu for the Matrix films. He memorizes the gun movements, like the kung fu movements, like the flips and moves and where he's pointed the gun, or like it's a memorized pattern. And he's absolutely amazing at it. Obviously, Halle Berry playing some sort of also assassin, Angelica Houston as some sort of like parental figure. I almost want to say, like,
yeah, it's definitely some sort of allies, perhaps,
yeah,
or confidants.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting way where it goes. Obviously, a lot more international again, setting up obviously the start in New York because it was based there at the last one. But Lawrence Fishburne's back again. Yeah, I don't know where this is going to go. And obviously, though the intent is we can't be killing him because if they want to make more of them,
yeah, they have to keep him alive. So he has to take on the world effectively.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a good thing. Like when I think about it, it's one of those cases where you remember those jokes about sequelized action movies of the 80s. You know that they're just non-stop, endless. I think there was Tropic Thunder as well. Takes the piss out of it with the Scorcher movies. Yeah. It's like how many times he saved the world or whatever. It kind of feels like that. There should be a definite end to John Wick films. I don't think like continuing to say we're going to keep making them as long as there's an audience is a good resolve. Like personally, I think you should go right. We're going to make 4 of these or 5 of these maybe, but like that's it. Like we can't keep making these because you start losing the magic of what makes the character. You start losing belief, I guess I want to say. Yeah,
for sure. Like I definitely think they should have, if they haven't already, they should have like a plan of like, okay, we want to make 4 or 5 of these and then just end it however they want to end it.
But you look at these franchise films, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you look at these franchise films and you're like Fast and Furious series, but obviously they continue to make money, so we're getting up to a spin-off film,
big cash cows, yeah,
and extra sequels. I mean, there's going to be 10 of them. There was 6 or 7 Resident Evil films, for example. Like films that continue to make money, they will keep making until they don't make money, and it's kind of a shame because then it just kind of peters out. Like you end up with the end of a film series that kind of just this was the one that when people tuned out, and the story kind of ended there.
Maybe they kind of trying to back all this, the Continental Hotel TV series. Like maybe they're trying to make that a big thing too, and then they can sort of softly go out with the movie.
Maybe
so
that
people don't lose interest.
That would be a better way to do it.
Sort of have them both as equals.
Yeah. Well, that's if the TV series doesn't not get very far in pilot stage or gets cancelled or.
This is true.
So thus is the way of television. I guess the other things is there's been a huge amount of finally is a superhero. I'm going to call it superhero madness. As far as Marvel was going, they released a final. I assume it's the final Captain Marvel trailer, and also a SpiderMan trailer, which I for some reason had completely forgotten was coming out in July.
Oh.
Like, you've got Marvel in March, Avengers Endgame end of April, start of May, and then Spider-Man July, start of July. It's a ridiculous amount of Marvel for that amount of time.
They're all close together too. I mean, back when it was like 2 movies a year, there'd be like one in April and then one about October-ish,
that's
or something. But now it's like they're almost 4 or 5 weeks apart.
Now we
expect
Avengers is going to be huge because everyone wants to see the sequel. Whether or not it has legs entirely depends on how good the sequel is, I guess. But then, I mean, it feels like by July it might even still be in cinemas. Like that's April, May, June. Yeah, it's like 2 months.
If there's enough audience and it's making enough money, they'll go, yeah, all right, we'll keep it on for another couple of weeks.
And that was the thing that happened with Black Panther, is it came out February, I think it was.
Yeah.
So, almost this time last year. And it was still in cinemas. I remember when Avengers came out. By May it was still raking in money. So it feels like they're almost cutting themselves off at this point. It's like three films in such a small amount of time. It's kind of a decision that I'm not sure, but we'll see how it pays off in the long run.
Yeah, if Avengers is still in cinemas while Spider-Man comes out, it will bode kind of well, because apparently Spider-Man takes place minutes after Endgame.
Yeah,
I think I read somewhere. So
I think
it may tie in well. So you could almost, if you timed it right, you could go see Endgame and then Spider-Man straight after, and it would be like, together. I
don't think anyone's going to be able to wait to see Avengers up until when they go to see Spider-Man. If they've got any vested interest in these characters, I think they're going to be immediately seeing it in April or May.
Yeah.
So if you're brave enough to wait and try and avoid spoilers, I'm guessing they're going to happen. I guess someone will ruin it for me, probably, as normal, so I don't get to see it straight away. That's the thing. I'm so conscious about spoiling films for people while I'm talking about them on here. It's ridiculous. The Captain Marvel trailer itself, kind of, I think was a good trailer. I've talked to a few people that were like, it was more convincing of a trailer for the film than the ones before it. It was interesting to note. Like I've seen online, it seems to be one of the most highly anticipated movies of the year, which even more than Avengers in some respects. So I'm kind of surprised by that. But what did you enjoy the trailer? You've seen the trailer?
Yeah, I've seen the new one. Yeah, and I think it definitely answers the question of when Captain Marvel lands on the bus. She walks into the bus rather, and she sees that old lady and then smiles at her. I think when the first trailer got released, everyone's like, "Oh, that old lady's a Kree." And then it's kind of confirmed that the old lady is a potential alien in disguise. Yeah,
I think it was because people were a little bit confused about the fact that she's like punching an old lady.
Yeah,
like that was the big issue. It wasn't the fact that maybe it's an alien. It's literally the fact that she was going to punch a lady in the face. Samuel L. Jackson, I'm getting used to this de-aged look. It's kind of weird. It's again, like it's not him, but it's him. Like it's not what he looked like in the 90s at that time period. But I think it's intentional. They tried to make him look like what the character he'd play would have looked like as that character. I don't know. I've gotten kind of used to it, and it's interesting seeing all the others. We've talked about this a little bit, and I'm going to bring it up because I got you to watch Ready Player One, but Ben Mendelsohn, again another bad guy. Like he's become like the pigeonholed.
Yeah.
I don't want to say Christoph Waltz because that's a really bad thing to say, because Christoph Waltz is, he's just got stuck in this. But Ben Mendelsohn, big blockbuster films, another bad guy. You see him in human form because obviously he's another one of these shape-shifting aliens. Again, I just don't get it. Why he must be raking in the cash, but I wonder if he's worried about being typecast.
he's just definitely one of these actors like Christoph Waltz as well, and in a way it's kind of like Sean Bean too, of how he dies in practically everything. So it's like you do something so often, you just get pigeonholed, and I don't know whether that hinders the actor and the performance of what they're in, or whether they've had discussions with people and gone, yeah, this is what I'm good at, so let me do this.
I think it's just down to casting, and they just go, oh, that guy was a really good villain in such and such, and they go, oh, we could get him, he'd be really good for this role. And he reads for the role, and then they go, yep, he's perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. This level of menacing. You didn't even realise he was Australian, I think.
No, I don't think so, no.
Yeah, no idea. So,
I don't think I'd ever seen him like in any press conferences or anything.
With his actual accent.
With his actual accent, yeah. So I'd always seen him in like Star Wars or even Ready Player One. I was like, oh.
It threw me off. It threw you off. That was quite funny. I'm guessing he's not using that accent in Captain Marvel.
No, I think it was the same when I heard Christian Bale for the first time. It threw me off. I always thought he was American.
And I guess we'll briefly should talk about the Spider-Man trailer as well in a little bit more detail. I don't want to talk about too much because obviously if people listen to this and they don't want to watch the trailer, they should probably probably don't want to listen to this. But the definitely reveal of Jake Gyllenhaal's
Mysterio.
Obviously, I think I used this phrase, and then funnily enough, after I said this, I saw it online a couple of times. But syndroming it.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, Syndrome is the bad guy in The Incredibles, and basically he pretends to be a hero by making creatures to be his villains. And I feel like this is the whole point of Mysterio as a comic book character. They're kind of just tapping into that idea and then turning it into a quasi-hero because he's going to come and save the day, even though he's the one that's causing the problems in the first place. Obviously not with the same outcome as what Syndrome was trying to do in that movie, but definitely something he would do. And yeah, it was funny, I said this to you, and then like 2 days later I read someone else online saying exactly the same thing, so I'm glad to think I'm not the only one thinking this.
Well, I think I read it too, and I mean, if you're not familiar with Mysterio in the comics, I wasn't either until I read something online about it, is that he pretty much is a conjurer or an illusionist. So I think you're pretty much right. Yeah, special effects. So I think you're probably right on that aspect, is that he probably has created these enemies, so to speak, and then he's defeating them to make himself look like the hero. So you're probably bang on with that.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I'm not disappointed if that's the case, and it's perfectly fine and acceptable, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's other potential spoilers in there, but I don't really want to talk about them because I think people online, if you want to know a little bit more about what people have been digging out of that trailer, like what they're reading between the lines and post, obviously, Avengers, there's stuff online. I don't think I really want to talk about that because I think could be bigger spoiler territory for people, and I think that's... But if you're interested at all, I think highly suggest looking up the various theories online regarding the trailer, because I found out by complete accident, so I didn't intend to read anything, and somebody posted up a video with a big... one of those stills that basically asks you a question. Does this trailer equate this? And I was like, oh, thanks, internet.
It's always the way. Internet's always there to ruin your day. No matter what you're doing.
I just wanted to touch on just one thing, which I don't think you've seen this trailer. There's an upcoming Netflix film called Velvet Buzzsaw. And it's got Jake Gyllenhaal. This is the reason I was going to bring it up. I was a big fan of Dan Gilroy as his director, and he directed Nightcrawler. Which also Jake Gyllenhaal was on, was very good. Have you never seen it?
No.
So the general plot of that film was that Gyllenhaal was like some sort of socially unhinged character. He was very good at it too. Who ended up witnessing a car accident, I think it was, and he sees like these paparazzo kind of photographers, videographers filming the wreckage and what had happened, and he gets on this idea about doing this as a job, and he does. He ends up getting gear and becomes eventually very good at it, somewhat through luck and some at first, and then later through his own actions. It's a very good film, and it's definitely highly recommended. But this is Gilroy's new film. He's got Gyllenhaal and Renee Russo, who's I think he's married to. Gilroy's married to, so it's not to his bride, and she was in Nightcrawler as well. And it has to do with like fanciful art scene in Los Angeles. It looks very dark, which is very much like Nightcrawler was. So if you like dark films, I think and this is coming to Netflix, which is interesting as well. So there's this thing where they're pulling up all these directors and giving them kind of any budget they want, I guess, within reason, to kind of make something that is very similar to their style. And they've obviously done this with Duncan Jones and other filmmakers as well. To varied success, obviously. Mute was not very well received. That was Duncan Jones's one. But this will be interesting. I like the trailer, so I can highly recommend potentially checking out, and I probably will watch it on Netflix, and I'll probably come back and talk about it a bit more. The other bit of news that I can't believe we're still talking about news. This is crazy. There was Final Destination sequels announced, but are they reboots? Are they remakes? I don't understand. There's more than one. I feel like it was more than one. Maybe I'm just saying more than sequels, like as a given that they're just going to start making more and more of them. If it's smart, it would be good to see them play into the original series because that last one did. But I feel like this will be a new franchise.
Yeah, I'd say it's more likely going to be a new franchise as well. Like there may be little nods to the original series, but this is probably going to be a whole new reboot because I think they did sort of bring it full circle with the last one, which is the first one, if that makes sense in a way.
That is exactly what it was, which was clever. It was a nice little twist, unexpected twist, but retrying it into that would be kind of hard unless it's an actual straightforward sequel. But then it kind of makes the Final Destination a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah,
was the fourth one, even though it wasn't the last.
Everyone thought that that it was going to be the last, but it wasn't.
The fifth one was technically the first, as you said. kind of a wonky system. I guess the issues that comes down to, like, you haven't seen Jigsaw, have you? Because that was basically the continuation of the Saw series, and it was a little bit wonky.
It's the only one I haven't seen.
It's a little bit wonky. It was alright, but it's definitely trading on that idea that you need a reason to bring up a franchise to continue it, and so I'm not sure if continuing it is also a good idea. You could basically, and around a shapeless, formless concept of death, I think maybe it's easy, and it's more about the spectacle, so I guess that's probably what people are wanting to see. And obviously, you just saw the trailer. I don't know if you'd seen it before when we went to see Glass, which we'll talk about later on. There's a trailer for Escape Room, which to me looks like Saw in a puzzle room.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe from it.
And I've talked to other people. I mean, I know people are looking forward to it, but it's definitely one of those things where that seems like a better idea. If you're going to not a continuation of a series, but take the thematic idea of how a series works and put it
to something else. Yeah,
a new box. I want to say.
Yeah,
seems that was the theme of the movie, the puzzle box. That was a terrible pun. I'm sorry. Ryan's not even laughing, so I know it's that bad. And he makes some terrible ones himself. I guess, I don't know where it'll go. I'll be very interested to see. I will line up for them. I had a soft spot for the series. I don't know why. They're not good movies. Let's be honest. They're okay, passable horror movies, but they're not great movies. But they're entertaining, and I think that's the important part. One last thing I wanted to talk about, and I just sent you the article a while ago, and I thought this was really interesting, and I think once you saw it, you kind of understood why. I was like, that's really interesting. So there was a deadline report that came up, and it was a guy that does stats, sent them information. He looked at the average scores on Rotten Tomatoes since the site had started.
So 97, yeah.
Yeah, through till, I guess, end of last year. And was working out what the average score was for the films. And they'd stayed relatively flat, but quite low, around 40-odd%. And then all of a sudden they started getting higher every year. And there's no reason as to why that is. Like, the argument would be films are getting better. I don't know if that's, obviously, I don't think they've changed greatly. I think the average film is still average, and I say the good ones are good and the bad ones are bad. But it's interesting to see that the critics, essentially, I don't know if it's numbers. Is it critics being kinder? Is it different types of critics? Is it the way that we were perceiving film? It's interesting. It wasn't mentioned in the article, but it was something that popped into my head. The difference in years started around about 2005.
Yeah.
It was around the time that we started doing a lot of video content online. Like, has that played into it? We see more trailers via YouTube, therefore critics are more kinder to films. Is that part of it? Is it the saturation of advertising? Is it all these things? It could be a combination of these things. So it was a very interesting article, I thought, and it was definitely worth a discussion, I thought.
I definitely think it comes down to, because as it says in the article, that I don't think it's confirmed, but it's a question of whether there's different people that are doing them, that are reviewing the movies, like different people from different cultures and backgrounds, diversities, so, but it doesn't confirm nor deny that. So it's possible that there has been, in which case everything's more level and movies are getting better.
In the sense of critical analysis.
Yeah.
It was interesting, though, because I did agree with the guy that put the stats together, kind of said that it probably is a bit more of a fair representation now that the critics, they're not as harsh, because obviously back when you're talking about 40%, you're basically saying the average film is below average, I would say. If you want to say 50% is an actual average of the scale, then having it constantly below 40, below 50% of kind of 40s is telling you that most films are shit.
Yeah.
And when obviously that's not always the case. You're going to get bad films, you're going to get good films, but your averages should be always higher. People still appreciate things for pieces of art. They like stuff for pieces of entertainment. As I was just saying with Final Destination series, it doesn't make any sense to say it. But I thought it was a very interesting stats. I'm going to put the link to the article as well, with the postings of this, because I think it's definitely worth everyone having a look at the actual graph. But I just thought it's very interesting, and in an age where, especially, we can't talk really. We're sitting here talking about films on a podcast, but that we all are very much more critical of our entertainment, and lots of people. You kind of want to put a hand in hand with people saying the rise of television. We give this comments about peak TV, but how the quality of television's also picked up. You'd think almost the amount of times you hear people say television's better than films a lot now, and you've probably heard that a lot. I've heard it a lot. You would think that the opposite would be true, that our critical consensus of filmmaking would have gone downhill. Like, the films were going to get essentially worse because we're thinking that television's gotten so much better.
Yeah.
And that doesn't correspond either, so...
No, well, I think it comes down to, too, that it could be, like, some people's attention spans, too. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to watch more TV because it's shorter, but other people still go to the movies as well for that entertainment factor.
I have that argument with people all the time because they go, oh yeah, that's the reason why I watch television, because it's short. It's, half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever. But then they end up binge watching.
Yeah.
And they watch like 5 hours in a run, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there was 5 hours. I just watched an entire season or half a season of whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I watched a movie. It was 90 minutes. Like,
it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting 5 hours, but you couldn't waste 90 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't make that argument. People like television. That's fine. I don't watch as much television. I used to. That's just so much. But I used to watch a lot of television. So these days I watch more film than I watch TV, obviously. I guess on that note, and that's where I was going to go with this as far as the local content, obviously this is a worldwide trend, but I just want to talk about it a little bit more in a local sense, is the death of video rental stores. And that kind of goes hand in hand with this kind of television watching, Netflix viewing. I mean, I'm advocating watching a Netflix film by Dan Gilroy, 5 minutes ago. But it's a shame because I think, just like anything, it's a tool in a box. Like, to have the option to go to a video store and pick out something that you won't find curated by other people so much. I mean, everything's curated. I mean, in a video store, it's done by budgets and so forth. But you've got more chance. When the reason I bring this up is because the Civic Video in Glenfield in Auckland is closed in the middle of a closing down sale, and they had over 65,000 items. That's a lot of movies. I mean, it's not 65,000 individual films, but it's probably more than 40, giving duplicates and so forth. And they have TV series and everything like that. Netflix can't compare with that. Like, one store's retail amount of, say, more than 40,000 items, Netflix has at most, I think, in its American things, like 8,000.
Yeah.
The diversity. And that's not saying everything there is great. Obviously, there's a lot of garbage movies, and it's just the simple truth. But still, you can go in and find something that you may not have been able to find. And that's, for me, a memory, I guess, of going to a video store and finding something you didn't expect, or picking something because you'd seen something with that actor or that by that director or by that company or whatever it is, and not being able to do that is a bit of a shame. And along with Civic closing, Videon also up in Auckland closed, which was a repository, I want to say, of like a lot of obscure stuff. And I think the only places, I mean, there's still a few independents still around, but it's this continuing trend that digital is killing the business, and it's a bit of a shame. You're exactly the same as me. You grow up and you go down to the video store.
Like, it's like that meme that I've seen online as well. It's like a picture of like a Blockbuster new release wall, and it says like when it's 1997 or something and Friday nights is about to go off, which alludes to the fact that it's the day before you could have online movies and stuff, and you'd probably go to the local video store with your parents, and they'd rent a movie and you'd rent a movie, and like your little sister would rent a movie or something, and you'd watch it over that weekend or something.
Yeah, or the family gathered around to watch the new release, because one of them was inevitably always a new release, and you had to bring it back the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
So everyone kind of gathered and had you got takeaways or something. I totally get this idea, and I feel like it's a shame of the generation that, I mean, I can understand people are like, oh, I can't be bothered going down to the video store. It's great that I can just stream stuff, and it's great because it does open opportunities. I mean, some of these films that are on Netflix obviously wouldn't exist without Netflix, without that funding. But it's a shame that they can't both exist. I think that's really where I personally sit. It's like the access to film should not kill completely the video store experience. I know there's places like RO Video in Wellington that are kind of trying to keep this kind of Patreon kind of system going, which would be great. And I love RO Valley's video store. It's really good. And I do miss it not being down in Wellington. And Videon was kind of that thing, but the thing is, I want to say I'm almost out of touch because I didn't hear about Videon closing until about 2 days before it closed, and I'd only been there because I've obviously been in Auckland for a few years. I'd only been there a handful of times, so maybe me as someone who obviously actually cares about this stuff should be going out and
looking for these places.
And patroning them, visiting them and actually being a customer more often. And maybe more I'm the problem than the average person.
There's not enough people walking through the doors to keep it open.
Exactly, that's the thing. Every single person was obviously going to help, and I guess it's a bit of a shame in that regard. As I said, there's still a handful of independents around. I mean, we're both originally from Dunedin. The United Video down there, which was huge as well. That closed late last year as well, which was a great store. I thought as a video store it was a great store. It just had so much stuff. But again, they would have probably in excess of 80,000 items in that store. And I guess that's a lot of overhead. It's a lot of cost. I mean, both of us. I mean, you have a large DVD collection like I do as well, and they did cost. Even you buying them up cheap, you're still spending money, and to have your own kind of little mini collection costs a lot. And so I can imagine a store where the overheads of keeping a store running are quite high, and then when you've got a lower customer base, it's a bit of a shame. But yeah, why can't they both exist? That's the real truth, I think.
Yeah, I think the Bugles probably said it right when video killed the radio star. When it's practically digital is killing the DVDs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
just one of those sad truths.
It's the new technology. I mean, it's got to the point where even people saying Blu-ray's a thing. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, and 4K, yeah, whatever. But the thing is, and I pointed this out to someone, like 4K streaming isn't 4K streaming. It's based entirely on your bitrate ratios, like how much you can actually load. So if you have a disc that's 4K, it's probably going to look better than a stream of a 4K video from online. But people don't care.
No.
Yeah. You got Tom Cruise coming out and reminding people to turn off the motion smoothing, for their televisions, because most people aren't aware of it. They're like, why does it look weird? Oh well, I don't really care. It's fine. There's some people who care about the audio and video side, but most people don't.
And most people just can't tell the difference either. Like if you get a regular TV and a top of the line 4K TV, okay, it won't go 4K, probably 1080 TV, full HD.
Yeah.
Most people probably can't tell the difference.
No, that's probably true.
Yeah,
and that's not to talk down to people. It's just they don't care, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. And that's probably the same sense of apathy that goes towards the idea of even bothering to go to a video store. It's like, Netflix has got enough. I don't need 40,000 items. I can do fine with 5.
Yeah.
That's plenty of stuff to pick from, and that's true, but it's also kind of a shame, I guess, in my respect. Yeah. I think I want to end our lengthy news and kind of previewy kind of thing with one last positive thing, which I assume you've seen this. The Symphony Orchestra is doing Star Wars.
I did, yes.
Yes. I had the luck of going to the Indiana Jones screening. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And even had an intermission, which was nice. But it's which I mean, obviously, it's got to be fair enough to the people actually playing the music. Kind of need a break. But it was really good, and I see this continuing. But I find it very odd they're playing the first 2 Star Wars, but not the original trilogy in its entirety. So they're doing A New Hope, or just Star Wars, and Empire.
Yeah. And they're doing it on, was it May 5th and 6th? I see.
Oh, I think one of them I thought it was on May the 4th.
Oh,
yeah, I thought the whole point when I it changed dates. So when I last looked at it, it was they were doing it on May the 4th, which obviously makes sense.
That's what I thought, but I thought I read it was 5 and 6.
Maybe that was maybe they got.
We'd have to look it up.
I have to look it up again. I should have looked this up beforehand, but I was going to say it was on May the 4th. That was what I was about to say. Now you've thrown the complete spanner in the works. So I thought that was the whole point. It was supposed to be May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
But May, was it Revenge of the 5th?
Yeah. But they're not.
May the 4th be with you.
But they're not playing Revenge of the Sith, though.
No.
So that joke is gone. But there's I assume there's I'm hoping there's still some tickets there, but I haven't even gone and bought tickets. I assume it's probably sold out. It's been on advertised for over a month now.
Yeah,
I was told
if
early
it's not sold out, it'd be close to it.
Well, because I didn't jump on the Indiana Jones tickets that early either, and ended up in it was an okay position. I was kind of down the bottom to the right, and it was fine. But I'd probably end up if I go look now, or anyone listening to this podcast and go to the looks, it's probably going to be where we will end up. If we go, I'm probably going to wait until my next pay and then pick up some tickets, so at least the first one, if not both. But yeah, definitely if you're in Auckland, obviously that's going to be a thing. Last time it was part of I feel like the Indiana Jones thing was like the lead into a film festival. It was like late April, so around the same time. But obviously they're just same thing. It was a great experience, really, really worth it. It's always nice having a film with a live orchestra. I honestly didn't think it would be as good as it was. I know that sounds weird, but it really was an enjoyable
It'd definitely be a different feeling as well, because you'd be so used to hearing it the way it's recorded, but just to hear it even live, it'd be like, oh, it'd probably catch off at first, but then you'd get used to it as the film went on.
Yeah, it was yeah, it was weird hearing music coming from a different space than the rest of the soundtrack. That was definitely, at first it was a little bit odd, but it's so rousing to hear a live orchestra playing like a symphonic actual score to a film, and hearing it at the right cues. So if you're used to the movie, it's kind of cool as well. And I mean, I've been to other concerts playing film orchestra stuff. Like I went to a John Williams concert, and I missed out on Back to the Future with a live orchestra once as well, but which I really wanted to see. But it's definitely an experience with visiting. I guess we should. That was a lot. There was
so much.
I can't believe we've already been recording for quite a while. We should probably talk about the 2 films that we managed to see last week. We'll try and do this without really any spoilers, because it sucks when people spoil stuff, and there might be some people who wanting to go see these movies. I guess we'll preface each one as we get to it, but I guess we'll start with the earlier of the 2, which obviously has been out since the end of last year, which was Aquaman. And we talked about Aquaman. Now Aquaman's continued to make a hell of a lot of money. It's past $1 billion at the box office. Yeah. It's now the highest grossing DC film of the new lot. Yeah. I think it's only just behind The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. So it's past The Dark Knight, which is just unfathomable. Yeah. But domestically in the US, it hasn't done as well as Wonder Woman. It's still kind of, but internationally, it's done amazing.
It's done so well.
Is it justified? This is the question. Is it, having seen the movie, did you feel that this is worthy of a lot of accolade of people actually turning up to see it?
See, that's the thing. Like, for me, it was in the same vein as Wonder Woman, in the fact that it's a good, I won't say origin story because that's the wrong word, more of a solo film. Yeah. A solo outing that was really good. But as far as the money goes, I think the way the story goes, I won't say it's that good to grant that much money, but I think people are just like, have just passed on the word of like, oh, go see Aquaman, it's a pretty good film. Yeah. And word of mouth has just got round, and that's made more people go out and see it.
I think the easiest way to equate it is, and I'll just ask you this question as if I was asking anyone, but it's like, is it one of the better DC films?
Yes.
Yeah, so
I would say yes.
And so that probably answers that question. Like, people were like, are actually not just telling people, oh, it's a good film, but people were actually like, oh, was it better than Justice League? Was it better than Batman v Superman? And people were like, oh yeah, it was about as good as Wonder Woman, or I enjoyed it more than Wonder Woman, or just a little bit less. It was enough. And Wonder Woman, most people enjoyed, so they're like, okay, Aquaman must be pretty good. So I think you're completely right. I think that word of mouth is totally key to how successful it's been. I want to say you're right. It's not necessarily an origin story. It's a solo film, but it has got an origin in it.
It's got a backstory origin in there, but it's not forced.
No,
well, at least I didn't feel as though it was forced.
It feels natural to the character, and we've talked a little bit about this, and I also talked to your girlfriend about this a little bit as well. It's just that I felt like there's definitely a style and a visual to it that's very appealing. James Wan's both the choice of his cinematographer and the way that the world is presented visually is very appealing as well. And I think even when its effects don't look at their best, it's still interesting to look at. And that's a really the sign of a movie that's also going to get a lot of positive buzz, that people are going to be like, it's worth seeing just for the spectacle, which I totally, that more than anything, I would definitely agree with. I'm saying to you as well that there's a fight sequence. We won't talk too much in the spoilers, but there's a fight sequence early in the film, which was very unique. I want to say, I want to say it's not a common kind of camera movement, but I loved it. I thought it was really
so
cool,
quick and
interesting, and it worked. It was kind of a surprise. At first, I was like, "Is this working?" I'm not sure if it's working. Actually, it's working. I'm enjoying this, and then they never did it again. It was a great way to make a very unique. Almost want to say it was like a unique fighting style. Out of the camera movements, but just kind of show off the fighting abilities.
Yeah, it sort of made you feel as though you were part of it in a way, of just by sort of going with a flip or with an enemy being thrown against a wall or something.
Yeah, and then coming back. It's an extension of other movies I've seen that kind of do the style where you kind of follow the action, but it was done in a very unique fashion that I guess it's the idea of when you have a virtual camera in a way. A lot of times now you can record stuff in a volume. You can move the camera anywhere around the actors, or have multiple cameras, obviously. shooting in one space. I'm very interested to know. It's funny because we watched. I'm going to go back to this because this has just clicked in my head. We were watching Ready Player One, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking. There's a little bit of that scene where they show reenactments of Halliday's life, and they move the camera around. I always want to say that may have been how they shot these action sequences. That they had multiple camera angles all over this kind of volume of space, and then they could just kind of use Matrix-esque kind of movement of camera between positions to follow the action, because that's what it kind of felt like. I wonder if those two things are kind of connected, that they've decided that they can kind of create action sequences around constant moving cameras in a virtual space.
I definitely think you've probably nailed something there. It's definitely a good thought of how they've done it. It is, especially with the Halliday one.
Yeah.
It does seem very Matrixy of how they could rewind and
pause and move the camera almost in real time. I want to say that's what the Aquaman fight sequence was almost like. It was this camera that could move through space while time is still continuing. It's almost, I want to say the reverse Matrix, where you slow space and move the camera through space in a slow time. This was going at real time, if not faster.
Yeah. Through
moving space. It was very interesting, but unfortunately never used again. Just that one scene, and then that was it. There's some other bits with virtual cameras kind of moving around. There was a chase scene in Italy, which I wasn't that thrilled by. It was okay, I guess.
I think because my girlfriend was the same vein. Like, she didn't really enjoy that sequence either, but the way I sort of justified it to her is that for the character's perspective in it, this isn't really spoiling because it's in the trailer, with the Black Manta chasing them, it has to be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So for that character to be there chasing them, it has to be there to carry on the rest of the story.
It's a plot point that exists. It's not a thrilling sequence. It's probably the weakest part of the movie, I almost want to say, in some respects.
In retrospect of thinking about it too, like, I wasn't a big fan of it either. It's just the fact that it had to be there.
Yeah, okay.
Which they could have potentially left out and put in for a second one if that's where they want to go, perhaps.
Yeah. Which is always the option when it comes to these movies. It's a very easy setup to just set up something and then ignore the rest for the rest of the movie and focus on something else.
Yeah, they could have just had the character set up, go, okay, he's going to become Black Manta, and then not touch it, and then he turns out and say, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're right. You were completely right with that.
Surprise! I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. No, that this is any spoilers, but obviously de-aged Temuera Morrison.
Yeah,
it's very it's weird. Let's just be honest. The CG's not. It's okay. It's not great. It's not the level that Marvel's got to. Obviously, with Captain Marvel, we were looking at like Samuel L. Jackson. It's actually believable, I feel.
Yeah, I think for me, because we talked about this earlier today, for me, I think it was okay, but I think the more I think about it now, I was like, yeah, that did kind of bother me. But I just couldn't really think about it at the time. This person's listening, I'm not going to mention their name, but it was very funny that they saw the movie and didn't realise it was a de-aged Temuera Morrison. They thought it was another actor. Oh, wow. I'm surprised by that.
So everyone who was in the room when we were talking about this was quite surprised by this fact, but obviously they just were like, it was fine by me. I didn't actually notice. I thought it was just some person, and it just looked like they put the sepia tone over not sepia tone, but they put some sort of wash to make it look like old footage. Well, not old footage, but like it was set in the past, which it was, and it's very vivid. It's a very vivid movie, so they seemed okay with it. I was like, okay, wow, I'm quite surprised
by that. I couldn't tell that it was Temuera Morrison. Wow.
Yeah, it was like, Temuera Morrison, maybe bad wig. It was obviously not his actual hair, obviously, but like, was it CG hair? Was it a bad wig? I don't know. The other big surprise, which I mentioned, I can't remember if I mentioned to you, I was not expecting. Oh my gosh, Dolph Lundgren. Oh my gosh, was not expecting that.
No, neither was I.
He was good. Like,
well, I was looking at it too. Like, when I first saw him, I was like, "Is that Dolph Lundgren? Is that Dolph Lundgren?" And the whole movie, I kept wondering. It was like, if it was, say, a movie I was watching at home on Blu-ray or something, I'd whip out my phone and go, "Oh, it is." If I'd never seen it, but I had to wait 2.5 hours to see if it actually was.
Oh no! As soon as he talked, I worked it out. When I looked at it first, and I was like, "That looks like Dolph Lundgren." And then when you talked, I was like, "Oh yeah, it is." Yeah. But he was really good. I
enjoyed it.
Which I haven't seen Creed 2, but everyone keeps saying he's really good in that too. So it's like maybe it's the renaissance of Dolph Lundgren's career.
Yeah, the resurgence. All these older guys coming back.
He picks up some actual quality work, and actually he can prove that he has actually always been an okay actor. nobody just gave him the opportunity to. It's very interesting. I think, what am I going to turn around? This is the funniest part about this movie. Am I actually going to turn around and tell people, hey, it's actually not bad, you should go see it? But I know I've already done this. I've had other people ask me who haven't seen Aquaman and said, oh, did you enjoy it? I was like, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. Should I go see it? Yeah, you should go see it. I think mainly the reason I keep telling people this is because the visual spectacle makes for it. If you're going to go see it at the cinema, then the visuals are why you would go and see it. Like, the story... This is the argument. Is the story there because it's a really hard sell to sell Aquaman if the story's not relatively straightforward? Like, Aquaman is kind of a crazy character in some ways. Like, to make it as a movie, he swims, talks underwater, talks to fish.
Yeah, it definitely is a tricky character.
You know, rides around on fish too. Like, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, Aquaman's definitely one of those characters where he's got superpowers, but they're like useless. And he always I'm not just saying that for myself, like saying he's a useless character, but just other people criticize him, saying Aquaman shouldn't be part of the universe, and he's just terrible.
Yeah, but people say this about Batman too. They're like, Batman
doesn't
have
a billionaire
any
with gadgets.
He's not got any powers. Whereas Aquaman, at least you can say, well, he has some powers.
He's got something, yeah.
But I think the joke's more that he's useless out of water. Like, and most of the stuff happens out of water. So what can he do? Oh yeah, so just bring your fish friends in. Oh wait, they're dying in the pile of fish over there.
They're just
on
all
land.
flapping on the ground.
Yeah,
beaching themselves.
He really is only powerful when it comes to water-based stuff. I mean, yeah, there's one argument made in that movie, and I'm not going to say why, but there's the idea that obviously they can wreak havoc from the water onto land.
Yeah,
and I think that's probably the most telling part of what would potentially make the strong character. But I mean, I'm thinking back at him now, thinking of Justice League, like he's just otherwise he's just a dude that just punches really hard.
He's just there. Yeah,
he's just there. He's just a strong guy who yells.
Yeah, it's practically it. I mean,
Jason Momoa, thank you.
Yeah, like I haven't seen Justice League myself, so I can't really judge it. But to me, that's what it would seem like it is. He's just a strong guy there, just helping throw a punch.
He throws a punch and punches a dude. Yeah, I'm thinking about this. It's not. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I think it's a weird thought about it. Maybe that's really it. The reason why everyone's telling everyone to go see it is like, I really didn't think an Aquaman film would ever happen, and when it did, I didn't think it would work. But it kind of happened and kind of works.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't. In all seriousness, it shouldn't work. But yeah, it does. Yeah. I think. Do you agree? I think that's that what you. Yeah.
I applaud James Wan for that fact. If he's made people go out and watch a movie about a useless superhero.
What's the future of this though? This is the question. So when you had the Aquaman movie announced, I want to say Justice League was still about to come out. The expectations were obviously Wonder Woman had done okay, but there's not going to be a Justice League 2. Let's be honest. The first one was not a whirlwind of success. There's obviously another Wonder Woman movie coming. There's definitely going to be another Aquaman film. No question about that. Just because it's done so well. Like, you know, financially, DC and Warner's are obviously going to turn around and go, yeah, another one of those, thanks.
Yeah.
Throw some money at James Wan to come back, possibly.
I definitely think if they were sort of smart, they'd try and, I won't say reboot, but they'll try and fix their universe, perhaps. Like,
seems like the only option at this point. I want to say, like,
I mean, if Wonder Woman and Aquaman are outperforming Superman and Batman, I think that's probably saying something.
But does this mean we're going to see an Aquaman Wonder Woman team up movie? Like, this is what I'm meaning.
I was actually thinking about that while I was watching Aquaman, because there is the famous storyline from the comics where the Amazonians fought the Atlanteans as well, and there was a big war there. So I'd be all open for that. If we get to see that.
With bad blood being spilled.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe that's too much akin. I don't know. Is that too much like Aquaman as it is? Historically, thinking about what the movie is, I'm trying to do it without spoilers, of course, but thinking about the context of that movie is that too similar, like in a lot of ways, about upset history, basically. It's possible. This is definitely an idea I would see. Yeah, I'd probably watch that movie.
Yeah. I definitely would. I mean, I roughly know parts of the story of it from here and there, and I think I've seen bits of it in some of the animated films, but as far as a live action one goes, I'd be all for it.
I guess we should move from one comic book film, because I want to say we'd probably spend another hour talking about the merits of making an Aquaman sequel.
Yeah.
But we should talk about the other movie which we just saw today, just come out this last week. M. Night's trilogy of superhero-esque films, and ending with Glass. So Glass just came out on Thursday. I think I'm still processing.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I didn't think I would. I thought it was going to be, I don't want to say predictable, but I kind of expected where it was going to go, and it kind of went that way, but then it kind of went where I didn't expect it too. So it was very interesting. It's definitely a companion piece to the other two films. Obviously in the sense that you've got returning actors from both films coming back to reprise their roles, which for Unbreakable was pretty impressive because that's 18, 19 years on. But was it what I was expecting? That's a good question. I don't know. Well, what about you? What have you got any more solid thoughts than I've got at this point?
I think I'm pretty much in the same boat as you. Like, I think I sort of went in with the thought process of that it's potentially going to go one way, is that it's going to be a nice wrapped up story. But once again, being an M. Night film, it's just the twist at the towards the end.
Twists, I guess. There's multiple twists.
Twists, yeah. But I think I'm still processing it too.
I don't understand why M. Night continues to have to put twists in films. Like, is he just like twists? I just don't get the fact that he needs to have them sometimes. Like, that's what I'm trying to work out in this. Like, did this actually need twists in it for it to work? Could it have been resolved? Had the storyline been resolved in a way that didn't need the way it went? And I'm trying to say this without spoiling anything, because which is not hard. To be fair, it's very hard. Not hard to talk about it without spoiling, because they twist. You just go in going, oh, it's an M. Night film. This is probably going to be a twist. And then when there is a twist, you're like, oh well, I didn't see the twist coming, but I expected a twist.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he does more than one, which is the case for Glass. But then, could it have resolved itself in any other way? Maybe not. Like, it's a very challenging film in that regard. I like the fact that he builds up, and this is not a spoiler, because I think this is where, obviously, if you've watched the trailers or heard anything about it, I like the idea that he's trying to undermine the idea of his own film in some ways. Like, the idea that he's built up is that the superheroes kind of exist in the real world, that there's the idea that what superheroes are based off exists in the real world. And he slowly kind of tries to undermine it a little bit in the middle of the movie, especially, kind of actually making you think that maybe they aren't actually super, that they are actually deluded individuals.
Yeah.
But then he never really commits. I want to say this without spoiling, but he never really commits to either idea. I want to feel like he kind of prods the audience a little bit, and then maybe prods them back the other way. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, that could have gone either way, and I don't know, it probably would have been the same outcome.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. I mean, there is the fact where it definitely does lead on to that. Maybe they are deluded, because as you mentioned, like you see in the trailers, like you see them all in like a insane asylum being interviewed or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it's like, are they really, is it all in their head?
Yeah.
Or are they actual superheroes?
I almost want to say, in some respects, I kind of wish it didn't even go down this path to begin with. I was kind of very much more intrigued about the idea of David Dunn fighting criminals. I know this sounds so generic, because it sounds like such a generic superhero movie to even say that. And then coming across the Horde, this is James McAvoy's collective character, basically. His Kevin Wendell Crumb's, collectiveness is known as. I'm almost interested more about that.
Yeah.
In some ways, like, what he presented was perfectly fine. It's actually a good movie, but I also kind of, if it had completely gone down the path of I want to say a generic superhero film with, Mr. Glass puppeteering this whole thing, I would have watched that movie just as much and been just as happy with it, which I knew it was never going to go down, because as soon as you saw the trailers and you knew the mental asylum and this doctor and all this was going to be involved, it was definitely a different film, and it's definitely but it's missing the point of what I thought I enjoyed about Unbreakable, which was a bit of commentary on comic books and superheroes at a time when comic books and superheroes weren't as prevalent as they are now. And it feels like this is a missed opportunity to make a comment about the spectacle of where superheroes and comic books are now, 19 years on.
How big they've become.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that maybe that's why critics are so and I'm not meaning to pun it at all, split over the the opinion of it, because I've seen yeah, he's trying not to laugh.
Shaking my head.
He's shaking his head. You know, it's one of those things where I think it's slightly below average expectations. People have gone in going, I really wanted to like this film, and I didn't because it wasn't what I was expecting. But then there's the problem that's the expectations. I really went in going, all right, I'm going to temper my expectations, because I enjoyed Unbreakable. I always have, right since when I first saw it in 2000. I've been one of those people who's like, oh, you've got to see it. If you've never seen Unbreakable, you've got to see it. It's really good. I think it's M. Night's best film. It's definitely one of his top two. And which, I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, well, that's not really hard. But, you know, the triple truth is, if I was going to recommend one of his films, it's probably going to be that one. Split, amazingly unexpected sequel to it, that obviously now spoiling this fact for people who've still not seen it, has a surprise, unexpected cameo at the end, really, like, revealing that it's part of the same universe. I don't know if my expectations coloured it at all. What about you? Did you go in with any expectations? I mean, I think I started this by saying that maybe I did expect something, or I thought where it might go, but
I think I just went in with an open mind, like, okay, we'll see where this goes and see what I think of it afterwards. Like, I was just completely thrown off by just completely where it went. And I mean, at the start, it's, without ruining it too much, there's a bit where you see Bruce Willis' character, which I thought, okay, maybe someone could be, you know, he's known in the universe, and maybe someone's trying to frame him or something, which may lead to it, but it didn't go there at all, which I was pleasantly surprised by.
But again, would you have watched a movie that had him doing, I don't want to say his day-to-day, because that's not the right thing, but more of that sort of stuff where he's kind of up against a bad guy and another bad guy teaming up, without the hospital stuff? Without any of this,
I probably would, actually.
Yeah,
come to think of it.
Yeah, I think this is the problem. I think that there was an opportunity to make a really good spectacle film, and not for the sake of making a spectacle, but to make a statement about where superheroes are now, just like Unbreakable made about where superheroes were considered in 2000. It's really telling that I remember. I don't know if you remember, the start of Unbreakable has to explain to you the idea of a comic book.
Yeah,
it explains, you know, how many are sold and all this sort of stuff at the time, and it was for an audience that didn't understand comic books. Now you're with an audience that obviously understands comic book characters to the point where none of that has to be explained in this film. It doesn't. It treats them like comic book characters, and they exist in a world that understands what comic book characters are, just like the real world probably does understand. The average person on the street probably has some semblance idea of something to do with comic books, whereas maybe 20 years ago they didn't. It's kind of, I feel like that's the missed opportunity to me. It's not that it's not a good film. I enjoyed it for what it is, but there was another film that could have been made here and I might have enjoyed more.
Yeah, like, I definitely think that it works on the fact that they should have done something more towards making it to speak on what the comic book movies are like now, or even comic books themselves.
I think as a film, I recommend it for anyone who's like Split, anyone who's like Unbreakable, to go see it, because I think if it's a trilogy ender, then it's a trilogy ender, and it's a universe that's very interesting and overall still makes a statement. There's nothing wrong about that either, but and some amazing character work, especially by James McAvoy, is to carry so much of that film. Yeah. Surprisingly, I think
it's really good.
You worked out, was it 20?
Yeah, just by reading the credits.
20 of the 24 characters appearing throughout the movie, and he pulls them off surprisingly well. Obviously, characters that didn't appear in Split that he has to expand upon in very small amounts of screen time. And massive cast of like returning characters that all cross over very well. Kind of almost like that mini universe crossover. Yeah. I want to say not surprised it's dividing people otherwise, but I recommend it. I definitely, I'm still processing everything, but I think it's definitely worth seeing.
Yeah, well, I'd tell people that if they've seen Unbreakable or Split, for that fact, to definitely go and see it, just to conclude the trilogy.
It's definitely a worthy successor to the franchise, and I hope at very least it does well enough for that M. Night can continue to make films he wants to make, because he obviously took the investment of The Visit into Split and Split into this on almost a personal level, and he's not always the best filmmaker. We make a lot of people make a lot of jokes about him, but visually and stylistically, he's definitely got an appeal.
Yeah.
Even when he makes ham-fisted cameos in his own films.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I reckon he's definitely got some pretty good films. I mean, I've only seen these 3. I won't say I've seen his others, but
You haven't seen The Sixth Sense?
no.
Oh wow!
But I know the twist in it. Everybody does. Let's be honest. Even if you haven't seen Sixth Sense, you know what the twist is. I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't.
Well, I'm quite surprised. I did not know this. I should have asked you even before we talked about this movie to begin with. What other M. Night films you've seen? Yeah, I mean that's like a thing. The majority of his films have not been well considered. I guess there's 4 to 5 depending on your viewpoints that are okay, and all the rest. I mean, After Earth was pretty bad. Yeah, I don't know about the Avatar film. I haven't seen that, but apparently people who were fans of the cartoon series.
Yeah, I think they ripped that to shreds from memory.
Yeah, and After Earth, I mean, it might not be entirely his fault. It might be studio. Also, it was a Will Smith movie that Will Smith was involved in personal making. Has a son in it.
Yeah.
And you take a charismatic actor and turn him into like a gruff father general kind of sergeant guy who just barks orders and tells us, "Cadet, take an E," a lot. It's kind of missing the point of what makes Will Smith a movie star, I guess. Anyway, veering completely off topic. I think we need to move on because we're already probably about an hour. I think. I made you watch Ready Player One because we talked about this last time, and I talked about this before with Ben Mendelsohn, playing generic bad guys all the time, which is that's not a fair statement actually. I've said generic bad guys, but he was so good. He's so good in Rogue One, and he was actually pretty good as bad guy in Ready Player One. I think that he's just keeps playing bad guys. And obviously Captain Marvel continuing that trend. What did you think of the film though? Because I suggested you on the basis that it's full of pop culture, and I know you're a pop culture guy. I know you like your crossovers and all this sort of stuff. But did you enjoy it as a film?
Yes, I really did. Surprisingly.
Oh wow!
I had no idea what to expect out of it because I haven't read the book or books that it's based on.
It's a day book, but yeah,
my mistake. Yeah, so I was just pleasantly surprised by it.
I'm actually pleasantly surprised by your pleasant surprise. I thought you didn't really like it. I think maybe you were processing afterwards. I remember turning to see what your reaction was by the end credits, and you kind of just had this, I want to say ashen look on your face. That's not the right statement, but you look like you were definitely still processing what you just witnessed. But I thought it was a thought of, I'm not sure I really like that. Yeah, but you surprisingly did. I'm surprised.
I just think that all the work that led up to the overall Easter egg in the movie rather.
Well, it's in a game.
Yeah, it's a game within the movie. Yeah, the overall work towards that and how it drives the story as well is just very well thought out. Of both the real world and the Oasis.
I almost want to say you probably enjoyed it more than I did. I thought it was an okay movie. I didn't hate it, so don't get me wrong. I thought it was enjoyable, and I've seen it a few times now. And I like the Easter eggs. Obviously, he's hamstrung by what licensing they can do. Yeah. Which is a big deal. But I think visually it was spectacular, and I think that's the thing that really sold it to me. Is a pretty good story, wrapped in a very good looking film. But the reveal in the middle, which no one had spoiled that for you.
No, I think you'd briefly brought it up as like, do you know what happens in the middle? I'm like, no.
I'd asked you after you seen it. It was one of those things that went all over the internet. Or maybe I will try and avoid spoiling this by talking in vagaries. But it's basically a scene in the movie that's based around another film, and they've made the film look like the film that they're talking about, which is amazing. Like,
they've even age graded as well.
Yeah, the right film grade, film stock look. Like, they've just made it look like what it's supposed to look like in this bit, and it's just like I was totally blown away because I wasn't expecting it. And I think in some ways it became one of my favourite parts of the movie. But even like the action sequences, I mean, Spielberg has a particular vision about things, and he obviously maintained that through. It's a very consistent vision of what the world is. I mean, Ernest Cline, who wrote the book, must be exceptionally ecstatic about how that film turned out. And obviously gives him justification to write more books and potentially make more film sequels.
I think that's a shoo-in at this stage.
At this stage, I think it did relatively quite well, enough that they'll definitely consider it. I don't know if Spielberg will return. It'll be maybe a different director, but I mean, it could be another sequel like it did with Lost World.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be books for it, but as far as movies goes, we'll wait and see.
Yeah, I think I surprisingly enjoyed it more than I expected, but I'm almost wanting to say now that you probably enjoyed it more than I did, which is I totally didn't see coming. I really thought.
What a twist!
What a twist! Lots of very real twists.
Yeah. I think I need to watch it again. There's just so much to, not just story wise, but just all the Easter eggs in itself to go back and watch too.
I think that's why I ended up watching it more than once, was just because I pick up stuff. Like I think even just that one time we were watching, I picked up one that I had completely missed, which is the box that the orb that is the box from that Gizmo's in Gremlins. It's just the same. I'm pretty confident. I've never looked it up, but I'm pretty confident that's the same box. Which is another one I hadn't noticed, and then until the time I watched it with you. So I'm sure there's plenty more that I missed.
Yeah, there's probably so many. It's definitely one of those films where it's multiple viewings.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's for sure. Oh well, a twist worthy of M. Night himself, I guess, that you enjoy
absolutely.
That more. Again, kind of through the basis of we watched two movies that you've seen both of them before. You've seen Breakfast Club, haven't you?
Yeah,
you've seen Breakfast Club. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you had. So you watched Breakfast Club. So 80s teen comedy, and Bill and Ted's, I guess it's 80s as well because it came out 89. Again, on the basis that your girlfriend had not seen either one of these films.
Yeah.
Interesting to revisit. I haven't seen Breakfast Club for quite some time. Obviously read the article Molly Ringwald herself put out last year, where she sat down and watched the movie with her daughter and made a lot of comments and observations that kind of riled people up on the internet about kind of the general sexism and like attitudes and everything. And I kind of see what she's saying, but I kind of don't agree with it. I think that's the easiest. I don't know if did you read those?
I didn't know, but I think you mentioned some of it to me, and I think we'd talked on it before, is that it was definitely one of those things at the time period as well, where sort of not, I won't say all movies, but it was kind of a trend for all movies to be like that in a way.
My thing about it is that regardless of time, the characters feel so honestly true to the time, not even to the time period, to kind of to teenagers, that people say stuff, especially when they're teenagers, that it's probably not PC. I mean, maybe things are changing. I mean, we're in this age where things are a lot more, I want to say a lot more PC, or at least perceived to be, and people are called out more for things that they say, and that's probably very true. But I don't want to say that I couldn't imagine a teenager using derogatory terms the same way that they do in that film. Like to me, it feels believable. They might be different derogatory terms. Yeah. They might act slightly differently, but I feel like all the character types are still true to potential I won't say characters, but people, realistically, that exist. People that are better off, worse off, that have upbringings with abusive parents, or good upbringings with parents that buy them lunch every day. Like, those are relatable things. That kind of complaining about the things that are potentially a little bit wrong is kind of diminishing to the film overall, because it takes away some of the, I want to say, honesty of it. I know it's a horrible thing to say it's honest, but it's kind of true. Like, people say stuff and do things that aren't good. And the film doesn't shy away from that. I mean, I think your girlfriend squirmed a little bit, I want to say, about the fact that was it Bender hides under the desk and sticks his head between Claire's legs. But she called it completely right. She's like, she kind of wants that. Like, she kind of likes, she's trying to play off this attitude about the bad boy, but in the end she kind of ends up hooking up with the bad boy. Like, she wanted that, and it's,
as they all called her, she's the flirt.
Yeah, and it's kind of like she played that character, and she's kind of like, this was really bad. I'm like, wow, really? Like, I thought you kind of would have understood the character. Maybe it was just because she was so young at the time. She was actually a teenager. Her and Anthony Michael Hall are like the only two that are actual teenagers. The rest of them are in their early 20s. But it's kind of, I was really blown away by it. I thought it's still a really good film. I still think it holds up really well. I still think it's definitely one of John Hughes' best, which is a high praise because he's got some bloody good films. And yeah, there's definitely elements that have not aged well. 16 Candles, the Asian student, oh my gosh, totally racist. Does not hold up well at all. No. But that doesn't apply, I think, to Breakfast Club.
No, I think you said it right, is that You know, you've got characters who have abusive parents, or they have parents that buy them lunch every day, and then you've got like the jock and all that. Like, it still holds true to this day and age.
It's the same with Anthony Michael Hall's character. You know, the
pressure
of being the nerd, but he's actually worried he's faltering because he's terrible at shop. Like, physically making something is not in his wheelhouse. And so he wants to like burn stuff down with a flare gun.
Yeah.
Which immediately everyone also assumes is an actual gun, which is also a nice little... I thought that's still just as relevant now. People were worried about kids with guns. Like, that's incredibly almost ahead of its time, I want to say. Not in a bad... Like, I'm sure there's gun violence historically, but what I'm meaning as far as what people perceive as teenagers with guns, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, in today's world, it's like John Hughes had the foresight to speak on social commentary for like today.
Yeah,
you know, it's just, it still holds up real well.
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, excellent adventure.
Yeah, excellent adventure. First Bill and Ted. What can you say about it? I think I said this. I think I said it to your girlfriend. I said it's probably one of the smartest dumb movies, or dumb. No, yeah, smartest dumb movies.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think I don't think it had been pointed out to me before too, but of when, what is it, 15 minutes or whatever, they're at the Circle K.
Yeah.
And then Rufus shows up, and then a couple minutes later their future selves show up as well. And then they tell themselves Rufus' name with no one else actually uttering it.
Yeah, it comes out of the ether. That's a genius move. And I'm sure that's intentional. I have no doubt that it was an intentional move. But where it comes from. So yeah, he arrives, he doesn't say his name. And then when the other guys land, they're like, Rufus! Listen to this dude, Rufus. He knows what he's talking about. And like, nobody has said his name before then. So how did they know other than themselves telling? That's genius. That's absolutely genius.
Yeah, it definitely works on that same sort of time travel loop as well, of like, you've always got to have something happen to keep the loop going.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, it was always going to happen because otherwise it couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And I also love the fact that they play on that when like they set up all these things, like they stole his dad's keys and like they set up a tape recorder and leave themselves notes. Some of it's a little bit unbelievable, like why does that trash bin all of a sudden just fall out of the air?
Yeah, that's the most obscure one that I still find confusing.
Well, the one that I also find it confusing, that the one where it's on the printer, because it goes, by the time they read it and they PS duck and then they duck, it's all timed right. How did they know? The only way they could know is that they got it wrong, and then have they gone around a couple of loops of this and we're not seeing it? It's really kind of weird. Like,
that's actually a good call. I hadn't thought about that one.
How does that work? I don't know, but still just as funny, still just as clever. I still love the names that they come up with for all the historical. Like, they're already inaccurate anyway. Like Beat Oven and Socrates, like Socrates.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's still funny, and obviously, I mean, both Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves is so perfectly cast in those roles. I'm really hopeful they make this third one.
Yeah,
am I.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's 20 years since the sequel. The sequel's still a good sequel too, to be fair. I personally like the original more than the sequel, but not by much. It's still a solid sequel, and yeah, I don't know what else I can say about this movie. That if you have never seen it, you have to see it. It's just hilarious. It's totally 80s. Let's be honest with it.
It's definitely one of your typical 80s.
It's typically 80s, and the characters are very 80s. But if you've never seen it, and I'd be surprised anyone listening to this probably has not seen it at some point. And if you haven't, then you should totally go watch it because it's hilarious.
And just watch it again for
watch it again. Exactly. It was worth watching.
I haven't seen it for a long time. Just watch it again.
I hadn't seen it for a long time myself. It had been quite a few years, I think. And definitely was thinking, I kind of want to watch the sequel now, actually, to be honest.
Maybe we'll bring that up for the next one.
Yeah, maybe. We'll talk about that as well. I'm just going to quickly touch on as well, just because we were talking about those 80s comedies. I also ended up, you didn't see this, but Fast Times at Ridgemont High ended up, and there was a whole bunch of us all at this house ended up watching it. And it was amazing watching these people that had never seen it before actually really got into it. And I'd said to them beforehand, like, the most infamous thing about it, aside from, is Sean Penn's role, Spicoli, and obviously the dream sequence with Judge Reinhold's character and Phoebe Cates getting out of the pool, which everyone always remembers in that film.
And it's always parodied as well.
It's so parodied. It's one of those things. I was going to say, a lot of people have probably seen the parody more.
I'd say so, yeah.
It's interesting because I say this. I call it pop culture osmosis. I've talked to you about this before. And I've talked to a few people about it, where you take in something that's popular because of the parody or reference rather than then you see the original and you go, oh, that's what it's referencing. It was funny because I read an article this week. I think it was on the AV Club, and it was like a Q&A with the staff. They do this every week, I think, or every couple of weeks. But it was like, what pop culture stuff did you see parodied or referenced first? It was exactly this idea.
Yeah.
And it was interesting seeing some of the comments on that about some of the things, and some of them are really like the specific things. I remember watching, speaking of John Hughes, Ferris Bueller's Day Off with someone who'd never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but they'd seen everything that had come after it, kind of they kind of referenced or taken that kind of same journey, and they found Ferris Bueller kind of almost trite and predictable, because of everything. And then I think it wasn't until the end of the movie we were doing on foot kind of getting back to the house. Yeah. They kind of went, oh, this is what that reference is. Like they'd seen obviously references to it. It's really interesting. I'm sure everyone's done that. I'm sure there's stuff that you don't even realize is references. Simpsons is real infamous for it, especially. Yeah. Like if you watch an episode of Simpsons and there's like, say, 40 references, the average person might get 10. And there'll be some obscure thing in there that one of the writers thought was hilarious that was referencing some real obscure piece of literature or play or poem or a book or a movie that nobody's seen, and I feel like that's probably the case for everyone. But to me, the reason I bring this up is it's so interesting in an age where our sense of humor, as far as films go, especially, is so meta-based. You have to understand the reference that's being shown almost in order to get the joke. Some movies do it really well, where the movie's still funny regardless of the reference. If you get the reference, cool, it's a bonus. But if you don't, the movie's still funny. But lots of movies are just so reliant on you getting the joke.
Well, I think you touched on, like, The Simpsons, they do it as well, but I think Family Guy do it probably just as much, if not more. I mean, speaking of the Ferris Bueller run, it's episode of Family Guy where I think Stewie does pretty much the exact same thing with the same beats, the same music and everything.
Yeah. I remember the joke at the end because he does the landing and then he's like, I shouldn't have moved the landing. Yeah, I remember that.
So it's like real slow-mo, and I think there was something else as well, like Almost did it as well, and they got some of the Ferris Bueller's actors back in for it as well. Yeah, it was a commercial, yeah. But yeah, there's just so many stuff that I've probably seen the parody of it myself and not even realised what the source material is, but I think I'm pretty smart onto it now. It
brought up a point when I was talking to people the other night. The difference between, say, those classic parody films, when I say parody, I say in a broad sense, like you talk about your Naked Guns and your airplanes and all that sort of stuff, is that they still crafted a story in a film that was a story, and there's jokes that are sight gags and stuff that's inherently funny just because of what happens. But the references they put in don't call themselves out as references. They don't require you to understand. If you don't get the joke, it doesn't matter. There's something else to laugh at. Whereas you go to those 2000 movies, and I've had so much discussion with people because I want to say I hate them with a passion, but I don't hate them with a passion. I just feel like it's like lazy parody filmmaking. Is the Freiburg Seltzer films, like your date movie, epic movie, Meets Buttons, Vampire Suck, all those ones. They're only timely for the time period they're in. So like they're only relevant to this came out in 2006. So let's make fun of stuff from 2005, 2006. This came in 2008. It's only relevant for like the last 12 months. And then it's like they don't even trust the audience to get the joke, that they have to turn around and explain the joke to the audience. Like, this is funny because this is such and such, or this is because of this. I said to someone, the funniest joke I ever laughed at in one of those movies I unfortunately saw was, I can't even remember which one, I think it was Disaster Movie, it might have been Date Movie, but there's like a Chronicles of Narnia parody. And Jennifer Coolidge turns up as the white bitch of Narnia.
That's right.
I think I've talked to you about this before as well. And one of the characters, I want to say it was like, I think this movie has like Cal Penn or something in it, I think it's his character that turns around and points out and is like, oh, Stifler's mom.
That's right, yeah.
And that was the funniest thing in that movie because it didn't point it out. It just said it because it was a character observation. It was funny because it broke the fourth wall. But then she looks kind of like awkwardly in a response, like she's upset with him. And then the scene just continues on. It doesn't tell you anything more. And you only find it funny if you actually knew that Jennifer Coolidge played Stifler's mum in the American Pie films. that joke, well, there wasn't nearly enough of that. Whenever they would do anything like that, they usually undercut it by telling you what it was or making it too timely to the relevance. I mean, American Pie, yeah, okay, it's still a film that had come out maybe within the last 7 years of that film, but it had seeped into the cultural consciousness so much, and there'd been 3 of them, I think, at that point that she was in, playing the same character, that it was well known enough that you got the joke, which was a high percentage, then it was okay, and it didn't need to be explained. Why they don't have the power to believe in the audience, I don't know. It's weird, and this is where I think the rise of meta humors come from, where it has to be so overt and obvious that people get it.
I think that's the issue. Like, you go back to like your Airplanes and your Naked Gun movies, where just all the humor is just sight gags. I mean, treat your audience like they know what they're going into, or like what they're going in for. Like, don't treat them so stupid. Like, put something in there that's going to be funny, but don't spell it out for them. I mean, it's just a waste of your time and the audience's time if you have to spell out a joke for them. Like, let them try and figure it out themselves.
Have you seen any of those 2000?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, and so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
yeah. It's just. I don't favour my, and it's not surprising. I mean, they're still making the films, so they're probably still profitable because the budgets are so low. But it's not like them. I think I'm kind of almost glad the meta thing's kind of taken over, because my thing is that the genre film ones are the more interesting ones, like your Black Dynamite, your Shaun of the Dead, you know, those sorts of films where you take a concept but you still build a story around it. So it's a blaxploitation film. It's a romantic comedy with zombies, as they say in the tagline for the film. You know, those things that make sense. Those are much more interesting films, I think, because they make a statement about the type of film you're watching while still being an entertaining film in all themselves. And even the Wayans Brothers films used to do. They did a blaxploitation film in the 80s called I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker. It's funny because it's a parody of blaxploitation films. It doesn't necessitate a time period specifically to the 80s late 80s when it came out. There's bits, obviously, 80s sense of humour, just like there's there at 90s, and the Hood movie kind of takes the piss out of the 90s Hood movies. But they understood that was a cultural wave, that there was a series of these films, and they all had something to say about that part of the world at that particular time. That part is ripe for parody. It doesn't specifically have to call out a particular actor or a particular thing or a famous celebrity or specifically. Whereas like your late movie scary movies, when they make a joke about Michael Jackson
in the children,
with children, you know, it's like, it's funny, like is this clever? No, it's not. Is it funny vaguely? Like, it's not. What's it trying to say? Is it actually supposed to be a joke? Is it actually trying to make an actual statement? Then there's that a sense of humor. Whereas, you know, yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't understand.
Yeah, I think if you're going to make a movie like that, make it funny where it requires multiple viewings to get the potential different jokes, instead of, you know, just having all the jokes hit you in the face at once.
Yeah.
Because that makes it better. Like, go back to Airplane. I mean, how long was it after Airplane? Was it when you watched the trivia track when you noticed that the woman throws the baby in the air?
I never noticed that before. Yeah. It was a sight gag that was there, but it never made the scene any worse for. It was a giant plane smashing through a window. It never made the scene any worse for not noticing that, but it only made it funny once I'd had it pointed out to me.
Yeah, like, and now that you see it, it's still funny every time.
Yeah, I just don't. I can't believe that there's obviously this person throwing not an actual baby, but a baby in the air is ridiculous. It's absurd. Like, but it's funny. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just my sense of humor. I don't know.
Well, to me, like, that's, if you're going to make a parody movie, that's the kind of movie you should make. Like, something where there's just requires multiple viewings, or you go, oh, I missed this, but somebody's pointed it out to me. I need to look out for it.
I want to bring this back almost to Breakfast Club and Molly Ringwald, but the last movie I can remember was Not Another Teen Movie that kind of did this, where it looked at the genre, and Molly Ringwald plays a character in that movie where, and this belies the idea, and I brought this up the other night with people, this belies the idea that you can sometimes tell the audience what's funny, not by telling them, by specifically pointing out why it should be funny, but pointing out the obviousness of it. So that's for people who haven't seen it, there's a scene at the end, the characters end up at an airport, which is such a cliche into itself, with one of them about to leave and the other one professing their love for the person leaving the airport, and Molly Ringwald plays like the air steward
or something at the
airport, and they start spouting off all these cliche lines that you'd hear in like every romantic comedy / teen movie, and she kind of just calls it out for being so cliche, which isn't the same as telling you what. It's not like what these other movies do, where they just like literally point at the joke and go, "This is why you should find it funny." It was just like the character in the moment making an observation, which was completely accurate.
Yeah.
And that in itself is funny, and that's where I think this meta humor things come from, because it was almost like when we saw Once Upon a Deadpool, and they made the comment about pointing out your lazy writing as a joke is lazy writing in and of itself.
Yeah.
Which kind of goes from that. It's that old adage of something is funny and then it becomes unfunny again, and then it becomes funny because it keeps going.
Yeah.
It's that same idea.
Endless cycle, yeah.
Again, different. Like, I don't mind that. I don't know what it is. There's something tangibly different about that. It's not calling out just lazy jokes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is bad writing and lazy jokes, and my sense of humor is completely off.
Well, I think out of all of those early 2000s movies, I think by far my favorite is Not Another Teen Movie. Because I think it just gets why that humor is so good, as opposed to like it doesn't need pointed out to you.
Yeah,
like, there are still some jokes in it, but I think overall it's not as pointed out as the others are.
And it's not to say you can't have jokes that aren't time relevant. I mean, Airplane has the coffee joke, which was relevant to a commercial in the 1970s, but it still plays as like this weird gag because they keep going back to it.
Yeah.
Because it's the same woman and she keeps having these inner monologue thoughts, and they kind of get a little bit off kilter, which in itself is kind of funny. And it's only funnier if you know that it's based off a coffee commercial.
Yeah.
Which is why it starts with the guy ordering an extra cup of coffee. Much like Not Another Teen Movie makes references to teen movies that had only come out in the year or so before it came out. I mean, there's a Varsity Blues thing with Chris Evans, whipped cream and Terry's, and a banana split, which is the extension of the gag that they make, which is funny in and of itself, because visually as a sight gag it's hilarious. But if you got the reference to the movie that had come out in the last 12 months, it was funnier still. But that's the sensibility that all these newer films don't have. They just kind of, the joke is entirely set up. Punchline is, you should know this. You don't know it. Here's why it's funny. Move on.
Yeah.
I feel like we've spent way too much time talking about these parody films, and it's my fault. I'm going off on a tangent, massive tangent anyway.
We both do.
We both do, and I guess this has come down to what we were thinking about in some respect, having a debate about something. It's not really a debate; it's we both agree on the same thing, but it's breaking down what that point is. I guess we should finish this episode with your idea of names from a hat,
all right?
Basically, although in this case it's going to be names from a bag. So we've got it's the closest thing we had. So we've got a series of names of famous people, famous actors and actresses.
I'm just shaking them if you wondered what the noise was.
Yeah, I mean, hear the noise of them talking over. And we both. What are we going to do? A minute? Is it?
Yeah, we'll go a minute. Or
so you pick a name out and then get 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. All right. Well,
30 seconds. All right.
So this is how well planned out it is again. 30 seconds. We pick a name out and we try and name as many of the movies. I guess we will try and say this movies and roles, maybe if we can. That we can think of in that amount of time, and we'll do best of 3, I think. Are you looking at it now? Or you can go first. You looked. So
all right.
You
Sorry.
First. That's all right.
I thought you looked before. You
no, I didn't look. I put it
my
face
mistake.
down. So let's start. All right, you start the timer.
I'll start. Okay, so I got Keira Knightley. Star Wars. Bennett Light Beckham. Pirates of the Caribbean. There's that new one we just saw the poster for. What was it? Jeez. I'm not doing well so far. Don't you hate it when you draw a blank?
5 seconds.
No pressure. 3, no.
Time's up.
Okay, I got 3.
Right.
Crap.
You set your timer and I'll turn mine over. All right.
And
hang on. I'm going to grab this because it's fucking great.
Go.
Oh, Kate Blanchett. Well, I'm going to start with Hot Fuzz because it's a good little cameo. Lord of the Rings trilogy, because that's another good one. Oh my gosh, I'm already drawing a blank at 2. Why do I know this? Ocean's 8. She was in Ocean's 8 last year. I remember seeing that. That was really good. Oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank on this? This is a terrible film that she's dressed... You're Not Here, the one where she plays Bob Dylan. Oh my gosh, I should be knowing these, and I'm completely drawing a blank. This is terrible. How much time have I got left? 3, 2, 1.
Time. Yeah, you beat me by 1.
All right, let's do another round.
All right.
Best of 3 for the best of 3.
Put them to the side.
Oh God!
Choose
There's
again.
got to be a bunch of people listening to this right now screaming, "Oh my God! I can't believe you didn't think of such and such a movie or whatever it was."
You try this yourself with 30 seconds. It's quite difficult.
It is quite difficult. You start blanking.
Especially when you've got limited airtime.
The 30 seconds. Maybe I should have made it a minute.
Oh, well.
30's good. 30's good.
I'll let you go this time.
So I
if you
go
want.
first.
Yep.
I was all right. So I'll get you.
I haven't
ready.
looked this time.
No, I haven't looked at mine either.
And go.
Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right, cool. This is awesome. Terminator, Conan, Red Sonja, Sixth Day, Eraser, End of Days, Last Action Hero, Escape Plan. God, I need to think of more of these. I said Conan, didn't I?
Yep.
2, 1. Far out.
Time. So
It's a lot harder than I expect. Even with
got
someone I...
8.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough to top.
It depends on who you get.
Let's see who we've got.
I should start
Yes,
this one.
we'll start that one.
All right. And 3, 2, 1, start.
And John Travolta. Okay. Grease. Is it Battlefield Earth? Really obscure one. No one knows.
That obscure.
Why have I just blanked now?
Is that 2?
Saturday Night Fever.
3.
What's the other one? Saturday Night Fever. Is a sequel or prequel? One of the two.
Yeah. No.
Damn. I can't remember what it is. Face Off.
4.
It's
time. 4 30 seconds.
4.
You were thinking of Staying Alive. That's
Thank you.
The movie you were thinking of. All right.
Thank you.
One more round each.
Jeez.
Accurate. Completely accurate.
Have you got 2 there?
No, just 1. It's just I cut it.
I
awkwardly.
see.
When I was cutting, I cut around I cut these out of a piece of paper and they're not perfect.
I think I'll grab that one. Is it just the one? Yep.
This is a good game. I'm enjoying this.
Right.
No, you should go first.
All right.
All right. And 3, 2, 1, stop.
Okay. Uma Thurman. Kill Bill. Batman and Robin. Yes, Batman and Robin. Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Man, it's harder than I thought it would be. Yes, I know. People are screaming at me. So
5
difficult.
seconds.
One
2,
more. Come on.
1.
No. Oh, damn. 3.
3. Right.
It's much harder. What
This
am
is
I
way
doing?
harder. This is way harder than you thought. Even though I
Yeah.
have to admit it's harder than I was expecting to. All right.
Okay, and go.
Oh, Scarlett Johansson. All right. The Avengers and Iron Man series. I can't just go through every film.
No.
That would just be ridiculous. Lost in Translation.
Yep.
Home Alone 3. That's a good one.
Oh.
There's an obscure one there. Oh my gosh. What's the name of it? This is the problem. You get stuck on one, then you go, "Oh, what's the name of it?" And then you Under the Skin.
5 seconds.
Far out. This is really hard.
2, 1. Time.
Oh my gosh! I should have said
5.
Ghost in the Shell. I knew there was something else that was coming out. So I got what, 5?
5 for that. Yeah.
So I think I won these 3 rounds.
Yes, you
total.
did.
That was really hard. Like, I honestly, looking at Scarlett Johansson's name right now, I'm thinking, oh, I can think of heaps of those.
Yeah.
But straight away, it's like we're after, Ghost in the Shell. That's a real easy one right there. That was good. That was a good challenge.
Just put them in a discard pile somewhere.
Discard,
so we don't get them again.
Yeah. Stick them somewhere so we know which ones we've done. We've got plenty more, so we'll play another few rounds next time, I think. It was a good game.
Yeah.
A lot more challenging than I expected, especially in 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think 30 was a good time, though, because a minute would have been sitting there going, I was thinking of... Her. Another one with Scarlett Johansson. Like, see, I'm still thinking...
time's up.
I know.
Sorry.
It's terrible.
Doesn't count.
Still thinking of stuff. It's terrible. I think we didn't even say this because the reason why I didn't say I could have just gone through all the Avengers and Iron Man films is that we basically could. It was terrible to try and use the same character in multiple films because it's a real cheat. I don't know if I would have. Would we have allowed Staying Alive? Is it the same character or is it a different character for John Travolta?
It's the same character.
I see. Then does that count?
Or
is it okay if it's just 2 movies, kind of semi-related?
Yeah, that's actually a good call. We'll have to think about this for next time.
Next time. All right. Well, this has been a longer episode than I expected, maybe about an hour and a half, which is not too bad. Once I probably trim through all the stuff that we talked about. Any last thoughts before we talk? and I'm just thinking about any movies upcoming. What you're looking forward to seeing? I know you're away, so
Yeah, I'm away next week. I don't know if I'll get time to see anything then, but I'll definitely try. Nothing's really coming to mind at the moment.
we need to think of a couple of things that you haven't seen. We need to think of something I haven't seen because
Yeah.
this is my problem. Is I've always got a backlog, and I do always mean to watch them, and they're always there. But there's nothing really pressing that I'm like, oh, I really need to see that film on my backlog. But I need to think something. I came up with Ready Player One for you. I realised that you haven't seen any M. Night films, so I mean, not that that's a pressing need. I definitely think you should see The Sixth Sense, but you know the twist anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of I need to think of something to watch. All right, well, we'll come back to this. By next podcast, I'll know what I've seen and I'll come up with something. No questions. No other final thoughts?
No.
We'll just see with Ghostbusters 3 or whatever they end up calling it. Probably Ghostbusters something probably. All right, well that's it for this podcast. We'll be back for an episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, do send me a message, write, comment below. Tell Ryan how good he was. You know how awesome his voice was. I had a couple of feedback from people that people enjoy your voice more than mine. I think I talk too fast and.
Either that or they're probably just used to hearing you, whereas me, as a new voice, they're like, oh, this is new and fresh.
Hopefully.
And
used to hearing me talk too much. That's
and thank you for the feedback that I could do radio as well.
A couple of people
I've thought about it occasionally, but...
Did you have anyone... You had some people say that to you as well, didn't you?
No, not to me directly. I think I only heard
to
it from you, yeah.
A couple of people came to me and was like, oh, he's got a good radio voice. So I was like, yeah, thanks. So I put on my radio voice. No, I can't do the radio voice. I can do the radio voice, but I have to hear it first.
Yeah.
And I can do it. You could do the pilot.
Me? Do the pilot? No. Maybe next time we'll bring it up.
All right, well, that's it for this episode, and we'll catch you again.
Remember, go out and support your local video store.
That's right. That's a good idea, actually.